This happened a few days ago. I was 35 and thought a quiet retreat would help me gather material for a piece on local folklore. My friends thought I needed a break from city life, so I rented an old cabin in Maplewood. It was remote, surrounded by dense woods and a winding river, perfect for writing and reflecting. Little did I know how wrong that was. On my second night, I noticed something off. I woke to rustling noises outside. At first I dismissed it as wildlife, but then I felt a chill run down my spine, like something was watching me. I tried to brush it aside, but sleep wouldn't come. The darkness felt heavier, almost suffocating. The next morning, I wrote about my peaceful evening, but as the days passed, the noises grew louder. Sometimes I could have sworn I heard a child's laughter mixed with whispers in the wind. I was restless. I kept telling myself it was nothing, but my heart raced each time I heard it. I dug into Maplewood's past, hoping to calm my nerves. That's when I found the stories about children who vanished in the woods. One child went missing nearly 50 years ago near the river, which made me uneasy. I told myself it was just folklore to scare visitors like me, but deep down I couldn't shake the feeling something sinister lingered. The night after my research, I once more heard the laughter. This time, it sounded closer. I stepped outside. The air was cold and heavy. My heartbeat quickened. I glanced into the trees, saw flickers of shadows, but when I blinked, they were gone. Maybe it's just my imagination, I muttered, trying to sound brave. I forced myself to focus, but the voices only grew louder. I felt a pull to explore the woods. I needed to understand what was happening. Still, fear gnawed at me. What if I uncovered something I didn't want to find? Then one night, everything changed. I stood at the edge of the woods. My heart pounded. "Help me!" called a voice. It was soft and sad like a child. I froze. A tight knot formed in my throat. The laughter began again, echoing all around. I turned and sprinted back to the cabin. I slammed the door behind me, gasping for breath. I could still hear it, soft whispers right outside my ear. My heart raced as I realized something was out there. It was no longer a dream or a trick of my mind. I felt a presence. I wasn't alone. As I stood there trembling, I heard the laughter again. It echoed through the cabin, chilling my bones. I felt paralyzed. The stories I read flooded my mind. I had come to write about folklore, but I was tangled in something far darker. As my blood ran cold, one thought haunted me. Maybe something is out there after all. I spent the next day trying to shake off the memories of that night. Writing helped a little. I scribbled down my experience, but each word carried a weight I couldn't ignore. The cabin felt more suffocating with every hour. I knew I couldn't stay cooped up forever. Determined to face my fears, I decided to explore the woods in daylight. I grabbed my backpack, flashlight, and a notebook, hoping a walk would provide clarity. I stepped outside, letting the fresh air fill my lungs and the chill seep into my bones. The sun hung high, casting strange shadows among the trees. They looked alive, twisting and turning like they were watching me. I pushed deeper into the woods, pretending the whispers were just figments of my imagination. Each step felt like a challenge. I wanted to turn back, but curiosity pulled me forward. I came across a small clearing about 30 minutes in. That's when I saw it, a weathered sign partially buried in the ground. It was hard to make out, but it read, "Remnant of the Lost." The words sent a shudder through me. I knelt to examine the sign. It seemed more recent than the stories I had read. A warning? As I looked around, something sparked in my mind. The stories described a tree by the river where the last child was seen. I had to find it. I moved further along the path, heart racing. The laughter was gone, but a sense of dread replaced it. I found myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see someone behind me. I stumbled upon a narrow stream, the water flowing swiftly. Beyond it, a massive oak tree stood, its twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Its gnarled roots peeked out of the ground, framing the trunk. This had to be it. As I approached, the air turned stagnant. A shivering sensation crept up my spine. I stepped closer, my heart hammering wildly. That's when I noticed something half buried in the mud at the base of the tree. I knelt down, pulling away the dirt, my fingers trembling. I gasped as I uncovered what looked like a small toy, a tattered teddy bear with one eye missing. I froze. Memories flooded back. The stories of the child who vanished. This wasn't folklore. It was a warning. I felt bile rise in my throat. The realization struck me. Something happened to that child right here. Suddenly the laughter echoed again, but this time it felt different. It was high-pitched, frantic. My heart sank as I glanced around wildly. I had to leave. I sprinted back towards the cabin, pushing through branches and underbrush, fear lending me speed I didn't know I had. As I neared the cabin, an overwhelming sense of being hunted filled the air. I slammed the door behind me and locked it tight, breathless and shaking. I was safe, or so I thought. But then I heard it, soft, slow, tapping on the window. I turned, heart in my throat. Someone was outside. I stared at the window, frozen. The tapping continued, steady and unnerving. It was gentle, almost playful, but I knew better. My mind raced. Was it a kid? A sick joke? I took a step back, my eyes fixed on the glass. The sun was fading fast, shadows creeping in like dark fingers. I needed to make a decision. I peered through the curtain, hoping to catch a glimpse of whoever was out there. Panic gripped me when I saw nothing, no one, just the woods darkening under the twilight sky. I cursed myself for going out there. The tapping stopped. An unsettling silence filled the space around me. I strained to hear anything, but all that greeted me was the rustle of leaves and the faint trickle of the stream. Then, a soft whisper, a child's voice. "Help me." I stumbled back from the window, breath hitching in my throat. Was I imagining things? I didn't want to believe it, but the voice seemed to echo in my head. It wasn't just a sound, it was a pull, urging me to venture outside. My instinct screamed to call out, to confront whatever was haunting me. But fear locked my legs in place. I tore myself away from the window, needing distance from that sound. I paced the cabin, trying to collect my thoughts. Where had I put my phone? I fumbled through my backpack, fingers trembling as I searched for reassurance. No signal out here, of course. Just my anxiety echoing back to me. Suddenly the front door creaked. I froze. That noise shouldn't be possible unless... My heart pounded. I hadn't unlocked the door. I approached, caution overtaking me. The door was ajar, swinging slightly. Just a breeze or something else? I peered outside. Dark shapes were silhouetted against the dying light. Then I heard it again, that haunting whisper. "Please." With each word, dread sank deeper into my gut. I couldn't let whatever it was have me. I grabbed the flashlight and flicked it on. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the threshold. I pointed it outside, trembling. Nothing moved. I was alone. Taking a deep breath, I stepped outside, the cold air biting at my skin. My heart raced with every step. The silence was deafening, yet the tension wrapped around me like a shroud. I looked toward the tree where I found the teddy bear. It loomed in the darkness, somehow more menacing now. I scanned the area, praying the voice would stop. Then I caught something in the beam of my flashlight, movement near the tree. My heart dropped. I focused the light, and there it was. A figure, small and hunched with wild hair. It was a child, or at least it looked like one. The faint glow of the flashlight revealed dirty clothing, torn at the edges. The child turned to me, and that's when I saw it. The empty eye socket staring back at me, void of life. I stumbled back, the flashlight flickering as I screamed. "Run!" A voice inside my head screamed, but my feet wouldn't move. The last thing I saw before everything faded to black was that empty stare. Then everything went dark. I woke up on the cold cabin floor, gasping for air. The room was dim, lit only by the beam of my flashlight, a small comfort amid my panic. I could still feel the weight of that chilling stare pressing on my chest. But now the child was gone. I bolted upright, scanning the corners of the room as if it might spring back to life at any moment. What just happened? My mind was racing, trying to make sense of the terror that enveloped me. The darkness of the cabin felt heavier than before. I pushed myself to my feet, still shaking. I went to the door, but before I could reach for it, a sudden gust of wind slammed it shut. I jumped back, heart hammering in my chest. "Get it together," I whispered to myself, trying to quell the rising panic. I needed to leave the cabin, but a part of me was terrified of what awaited outside. I took a deep breath and flicked the flashlight off. The silence pierced the air, more suffocating than before. I could hear the faint whistling of the wind through the trees. I needed a plan. Grabbing my backpack, I rummaged through it, hoping to find something useful. My phone was useless, a lifeless brick with no signal. I found my pocket knife. At least I had some protection. Tucking it into my pants pocket felt like a small reassurance in a world that felt increasingly hostile. I leaned against the wall, trying to stall my fear. What could that figure have been? Whatever it was, it definitely wasn't normal. Did anyone in town know about this? I remembered the locals at the diner talking about the woods. There were whispers of things that lurked in the shadows, but I brushed them off. Now I wished I hadn't. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed in the stillness. "Please, help." The sound was close. I felt my blood run cold. It was back, just like before. My instinct screamed at me to stay quiet and hidden, but that call was so desperate. It felt like a pull, stronger than any fear. Against my better judgment, I moved to the window and peered out, my heart fluttering. Darkness surrounded the cabin, but that sweet whisper beckoned me as my flashlight flickered back to life. I aimed the beam towards the source of the voice. Then I saw it, just outside my porch. The figure was now closer, almost right at my feet, but as I squinted through the dark, I saw more than just the child. Behind it, a second figure emerged, this one taller, shrouded in shadow. My heart thudded violently against my ribs. Panic took hold, and I stumbled back, the flashlight slipping from my grip. It clattered to the floor, blinking in and out of light before finally dying. I was plunged into total darkness, the whisper fading away, replaced by an unsettling silence. I could hear my own breathing, loud and frantic. I felt trapped, alone and exposed. Then I heard something else, a shuffle at the door. Someone was inside the house. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice shaking. No answer, just silence, broken by the soft creak of wood underfoot. I needed to act. I fumbled for the knife, clutching it tightly, my only defense against the unknown. Then the door creaked open, slowly revealing a sliver of moonlight. I held my breath, waiting for whatever was about to come through that threshold. That's when I saw it, an unmistakable silhouette standing just beyond the doorframe. And suddenly I realized I wasn't alone at all. I froze, the realization hitting me like a punch to the gut. The silhouette remained motionless, its outline dark against the faint glow of the moon. I could barely make out the features, but there was no mistaking the presence. It was the taller figure that had been lurking at the edge of my vision. "Who are you?" I managed to croak, my voice barely above a whisper. My grip tightened around the knife. I was terrified, but I needed to stand my ground. It was the only thing left to do. The figure stepped forward, revealing more details. It was a woman, but her face was obscured in shadow. "Help me," she rasped, her voice hauntingly similar to the child's. A chill ran down my spine. Why did this feel like a terrible déjà vu? "Help you? Why should I help you?" I questioned, my heart racing. "You've been out there with the child." Her head tilted slightly, revealing a gaunt face that sent shivers through me. It looked weathered, as if she'd been lost in those woods for years. "You don't understand. They are coming," she said, her voice trembling. "You must leave now." The urgency in her words made me hesitate, a desperate plea mixed with the instinct to run. "What is coming?" Who are they? Darkness, she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. I could see now. Her eyes were sunken, her skin pale. Something was wrong. You can't stay here. That's when I heard it. Thumps outside, deliberate and heavy. The sound sent my heart racing again. Fear radiated through me. Whatever it was drawing closer. Run, the woman urged, taking a step back, her hands raised as if to ward off something unseen. They'll find you. You have to leave. I couldn't tell if she was trying to help me or if she was part of the horror. My pulse quickened as I considered my options. The child, the woman, the threats beyond the door. I felt like a trapped animal scrambling for an escape. I bolted toward the window, throwing myself on my stomach as I tried to look outside. The darkness was more overwhelming than before. No shapes, no figures, just an impenetrable black. My breathing quickened, and I willed myself to stay focused. I couldn't see them, but I could feel them lurking just outside. "Help me!" the woman cried once more, her voice strained. I turned back, but she had moved closer, silhouetted against the faint light that slipped through the door. Her eyes flickered with something between fear and desperation. "Please, you have to trust me," she pleaded, her voice growing stronger yet more frantic. But then, just as suddenly, she turned her gaze toward the door, her expression shifting to sheer terror. "They're here!" I didn't know what to do. I glanced back to the door, every instinct screaming for me to escape. That was when the thumping turned into a crashing sound, splinters flying as whatever was outside began to force its way in. "Run!" the woman screamed, and in that moment I made my choice. I scrambled to my feet, lunging for the back door, adrenaline pushing me into action. As I reached for the knob, I could hear the growling, the sound of something truly terrifying. It was time to leave the cabin, but at what cost? I flung the door open, prepared to face whatever lay outside, heart pounding, breath held. What I saw next would make everything I'd experienced so far feel trivial by comparison. The air outside felt different, like stepping into a thick fog. My senses were heightened as I scanned the darkness, trying to make sense of the agonizing sounds that surrounded me. The woman's desperate cries echoed in my ears as I hesitated on the threshold, caught between the chaos inside and the unknown beyond. What emerged from the shadows sent icy fingers crawling down my spine. It wasn't a single entity, but a mass of swirling darkness, shifting and writhing like smoke blown by an unseen wind. I staggered back, heart racing, just as a horrific figure broke free from the mass. It was tall and elongated, its limbs distorted and bent unnaturally. Its head was featureless, save for a gaping mouth full of jagged teeth that seemed to stretch far wider than any human's. I was rooted to the spot, paralyzed by fear. I had expected something monstrous, but this was a nightmare given form. The woman from the cabin suddenly rushed past me, veering away from the door in a desperate bid for freedom. "This way," she yelled, motioning towards the woods. In all my panic, my reluctance to trust her flickered again. Could she really be saving me, or was she just leading me deeper into danger? Before I had the chance to decide, the dark mass roared. It was a sound that vibrated in my bones, overwhelming in its ferocity. I felt a strange pull, urging me to follow her. I took a deep breath, every instinct screaming to run. I dashed after her into the trees, my knife still clutched tightly in my hand. The underbrush bit at my legs, but I hardly noticed. We pushed through the foliage, branches cracking and leaving marks on my skin. I could hear the creature closing in behind us, the rustling of leaves and the thunderous echo of its movements drowning out my thoughts. "Keep going," she shouted, glancing back at me with terrified eyes. "Don't look back." I wanted to ask her what it was, why it was here, but I couldn't afford to waste breath. Each burst of adrenaline drove me onward as sheer panic propelled me through the forest. I was running blindly, but I could feel the terror of the unknown chasing me. Then we stumbled into a clearing, and I froze. In the middle stood an old twisted tree, the roots extending like claws. I could feel a strange energy emanating from it, almost like a heartbeat. "This is it," she cried, her voice full of urgency. "We need to hide." "Hide?" I choked out, glancing over my shoulder, my heart racing as shadows swirled behind us, coiling like snakes. "What's going to happen?" "They can't reach us if we're close to it," she exclaimed, as she grabbed my arm and dragged me toward the tree. Just as we reached it, I heard a thunderous crack. The entity burst into the clearing with a force that shook the ground beneath me. The woman and I pressed ourselves against the tree, heartbeats pounding in synchronized terror. I had no idea what awaited us, but I knew one thing: whatever was coming next would change everything. The creature's roar vibrated through the air, mixing with the crackling of branches and the rustle of leaves. It loomed over us, a shadow that seemed to swallow the moonlight. My instincts screamed at me to run, but we were trapped against the tree, held hostage by fear and uncertainty. I felt the woman's grip tighten on my arm. "Stay close," she whispered, her voice trembling. I wanted to shout back that I was trying, that this wasn't the plan I had signed up for. But the sight of the monster, hunched and menacing, sent my thoughts spiraling. "Why do you think it won't reach us?" I managed to ask, trying to keep my voice steady. I didn't want to sound weak, but questions piled up in my mind like fallen leaves. "The tree has a presence," she said, her eyes flickering to the gnarled roots beneath our feet. "It's ancient. This place is protected." I wanted to believe her. Somewhere deep in my gut, I felt the truth in her words, but I couldn't shake off the fear. A part of me wanted to grab the knife from my pocket and prepare to fight. The other part of me whispered that it wouldn't matter. The creature edged closer, and the smell of damp earth and something rotten filled my nostrils. The darkness shifted around it, forming shapes that darted in and out of the light. It was as if the shadows themselves had come alive, hungry for the chaos that unfolded. Suddenly the ground rumbled, and the roots of the tree shook beneath us. I stumbled, almost losing my balance. The woman steadied me, her eyes wide with panic. "This is it. Just hold on." Before I could ask what she meant, the monster lunged forward, mouth agape, ready to devour. I felt the air rush past me, a whoosh of wind that seemed to turn our surroundings into a blur. A flash of light exploded from the tree, illuminating the area in an ethereal glow. I squinted against the brightness, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. The dark entity recoiled, the shadowy tendrils freezing mid-air like birds startled by a predator. The roots seemed to pulse with energy, a silent force pushing back against the creature. "Now, we have to move," she shouted. I could see in her eyes that hope flickered like a candle threatened by a gust. The tree held the barrier, but for how long? We darted away from the trunk, my legs propelling us forward despite the ache in my muscles. We ran deeper into the woods, the glow of the tree fading behind us. My heart raced, and I glanced over my shoulder. The creature was still within reach, but now it hesitated, the light from the tree forcing it into the shadows. "Where are we going?" I gasped. My breath felt heavy. Each inhale a reminder of the madness we were escaping. "There's a cabin nearby. It's a safe place," she yelled, determination edging her voice. "If we can make it there, we stand a chance." "Safe from what?" I retorted, anger slipping through my fear. "What is that thing? We need answers, not just a run." But I realized she didn't have time to answer. The roar behind us was louder now, echoing through the trees, a promise of pursuit. I pushed forward, not knowing if the cabin truly awaited us, or if it would lead us into another trap. That's when I saw it, glimmering in the distance, a faint light flickering like a beacon. My heart raced faster than my legs could run. What was waiting for us there? The light flickered again, closer now. We raced toward it, each step filled with a mix of hope and dread. Had we stumbled upon the salvation we needed, or was it simply a mirage in the dark? The sound of the creature was still there, an angry growl echoing in the distance, but it faded slightly as we moved. As we approached, the cabin came into clearer view. It was small and dilapidated, with a crooked roof and broken windows. But the light came from within, casting a warm golden hue that was almost inviting. I hesitated for a moment, glancing back at the dark landscape behind us. The roar erupted again, closer now, its resonance racking my bones. "Keep moving," she urged, pulling me forward as we reached the wooden door. I could feel the warmth radiating from inside, and I hoped it would shield us from whatever hunted us. The door creaked loudly as she pushed it open, and we stumbled into the cabin. I nearly tripped over the threshold and caught myself just in time. I turned back to see her close the door. The sound of the latch clicking into place felt like a final confirmation of our temporary safety. The interior was dim but cozy. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated by the flickering light of an old lantern on a rickety table. There were scraps of fabric, old books scattered about, and old pictures lined the walls. The air smelled musty, but carried a whisper of something sweet, like dried herbs. "What is this place?" I asked, my voice low, almost reverent. "It's a shelter," she said, scanning the room like a hawk. "A place to hide when things go wrong. It's been here forever." "Does it have protection?" I asked, thinking back to the tree. "Can it keep that thing out?" She shook her head. "Not like the tree, but we can barricade the door. It might buy us some time." I nodded, moving to a nearby chair and wedging it against the doorknob. She joined me, pushing a rusty cabinet in front of the door. Together, we made what felt like a weak defense against the chaos we had just escaped. As we paused to catch our breath, I finally caught a glimpse of the woman's face. Her expression was tense, her eyes darting to the windows, as if expecting the creature to leap at us at any moment. "What is that thing?" I asked again, unable to hide the tremor in my voice. She opened her mouth, hesitating. "I don't know everything, but it's a guardian of the forest, they say. It protects something deeper within these woods. If it's after us, it means we've crossed a line." "Crossed a line," I echoed, feeling the weight of her words. "Yes, whatever we're involved in goes beyond just us now. If we stay here and wait for the sun to rise, maybe we'll get answers. But there's a chance that thing knows we're here." Suddenly, a loud thud echoed nearby. The creature was close, too close. The cabin trembled slightly as if it could sense it too, but we had nowhere else to go. "Look!" She pointed toward one of the windows, just as a dark shadow passed by outside, creeping like smoke, searching for a way in. Panic surged through me. "What do we do now?" Then I noticed something on the table, a strange knot of twine and a small, shimmering stone. Glowing softly, it seemed out of place among the dust. I picked it up, feeling a surge of warmth radiating from it. "What is this?" I asked. "Tread carefully," she warned, her eyes widening. "That might be what it's looking for." Before I could react, the door shook violently, rattling against the chair I had wedged against it. We both froze, heartbeats echoing in the stillness. We had entered the cabin seeking refuge, but now it felt like a trap laid for us. What was the truth about the depths of this forest? What exactly had we stumbled into? The door rattled again, and my heart raced. The creature outside seemed determined to find a way in, each impact sending vibrations through my legs. I tightened my grip on the shimmering stone, its warmth almost soothing. "What if it's trying to get to the stone?" I whispered, looking to her for guidance. "I don't know," she said, her brow furrowed, "but we need to keep it out, whatever it wants." The room felt small, closing in on me. I could hear the leaves rustling outside, and the growl reverberated again, deeper and more menacing. I glanced toward the window, but all I saw was darkness pooling like ink. "We should hide it," she said suddenly, her eyes narrowing. "If it wants that stone, it might not notice us without it." I didn't want to give it up, but I could see the logic in her words. I moved to the corner of the room, slowly placing the glowing stone behind an old, tattered curtain. I hoped that would keep it safe. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the door, louder than before. The chair splintered slightly under the force. My breath caught in my throat. "Keep pushing it," she urged, her voice firm despite the fear in her eyes. Together we threw our weight against the cabinet. It scraped against the floor, but barely moved. The door splintered again. "What is it doing?" I cried, panic leaking into my voice. "Maybe it's trying to break through," she shouted back, sweat beginning to bead on her forehead. The growl morphed into a snarl, a low, guttural sound that echoed in my bones. I could feel the cabin vibrating, and my mind raced with thoughts of what would happen if it got in. Then I noticed something. On the wall near the door, a pattern emerged from the shadows. It was a series of strange symbols carved into the wood, barely visible. They looked ancient, almost alive in the flickering light. "Do you see that?" I pointed. "Yeah. I think it's a warning," she said, her expression growing serious. "Whatever that creature is, it's linked to those markings." Then, just as I was about to ask her how we could use the markings, the door crashed open, the cabinet toppling over. A gust of cold air rushed in, bringing with it the rancid scent of wet earth and decay. My heart thundered violently in my chest, and I stumbled backward, falling against the table. The creature loomed in the doorway, a hulking shadow with eyes like glowing coals. I froze, paralyzed by fear. That's when I saw it, an outline in the darkness behind the creature, a figure human-shaped but indistinct. It stepped closer, and the creature shifted, snarling, as if caught off guard. "Run!" she screamed, yanking me back to reality. Suddenly, the other figure lunged toward us, and I had no idea who or what it was. In a split second, the world around me shifted from clarity to chaos. We were not safe yet, not by a long shot. "What is happening?" I managed to gasp, my eyes darting between the two figures as panic surged through me. "Just get to the back!" she yelled, jerking me toward a narrow hallway at the rear. "We have to find a way out!" But the creature blocked our only escape, and I could feel the weight of uncertainty crushing down on me. What had we gotten ourselves into, and why did I feel like the real nightmare was just beginning? We dashed through the narrow hallway, my heart pounding loudly in my chest. The shadows pressed in around us, the thick silence threatening to swallow us whole. The chaotic sounds of the creature's ferocious growl echoed behind me, the uncertainty of what would happen next leaving a bitter pit in my stomach. "Where do we go?" I yelled over my shoulder, desperation pushing my voice higher. She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes darted around, searching for something. The dim light flickered, illuminating the frail walls adorned with peeling wallpaper and dark stains that suggested years of neglect. Ahead, a small window beckoned, its glass still intact but clouded with grime. "Here!" she shouted suddenly, pointing at a door to our left. "We can hide in there." Time seemed to slow as I threw my weight against the door, praying it would open. A click greeted me, and the door swung inward, revealing a cramped storage space cluttered with old furniture and boxes. Without hesitation, we squeezed inside, the musty air heavy with dust. "Just a moment," she said, hurriedly moving a stack of boxes to block the door as best as we could. I could hear the creature's growls growing restless, a low sound vibrating through the walls. "Is this going to hold?" I whispered, dread rolling over me. "We have to hope it does," she replied, glancing at me, her eyes wide with fear, but embedded with a hint of determination. "If it finds us, we might not get another chance." I nodded, trying to calm my racing heart. In that darkness, every second stretched, heavy with unknown outcomes. Just as I was about to suggest we look for an escape route, a thunderous crash erupted through the cabin, shaking the floor beneath us. The creature sounded even more enraged now, its breathing ragged and primal. Peering through the small gap in the boxes, I caught a glimpse of the twisted figure moving clumsily through the cabin, searching for us. My heart dropped as it veered dangerously close to our hiding spot. "Stay still," she hissed. I felt her hand grip my arm tightly, as if sensing my panic. I couldn't help but hold my breath, desperate to remain unnoticed. The figure paused right outside the storage area, a heavy silence enveloping us as it sniffed the air. I could hear the low rumble of its growl. It knew we were close, but it couldn't pinpoint us just yet. My pulse raced, thrumming in my ears. Then, just as I thought it would turn away, a golden light flickered from the corner of the room. The stone. I realized in horror that I had left it behind when we fled. The creature shifted, drawn to the glow, and I felt a wave of despair wash over me. "It's going for the stone," I murmured. "Wait," she started. But before she could finish, the creature lunged, tearing the door open as if it were made of paper. The chaos erupted again, and we were thrust back into a landscape of terror. "Run!" she screamed, and instinct kicked in. I bolted from the storage closet, heart pounding as we raced toward the other side of the cabin. Crack! A massive claw swiped at my back, narrowly missing as I ducked and dashed to the kitchen, my feet barely staying ahead of its grasp. "Help me!" a voice howled from the darkness, a distant echo of the child's plea. I didn't dare look back, moving with urgency through the space that had transformed into a warped nightmare. "Over here!" she shouted as we spotted a window above a sink. An old rickety chair sat below it. I climbed onto it, almost slipping in my haste. She followed, her hand tight around mine. We had to get out. I hoisted myself up, pushing against the window frame, and it creaked open too quietly for my comfort. "Hurry!" I urged. With her help, we squeezed through the gap, tumbling into the cool air outside. We hit the ground running, climbing over the disfigured remains of the porch. I glanced back, quickening my pace when I saw shadows moving behind the glass. This wasn't over. We had only exchanged one danger for another. The woods swallowed us whole as we plunged into the darkness, the trees closing around us like prison bars. The sounds of the creature faded slightly, but were never far behind, gnashing its teeth in frustration. "Where now?" I gasped, adrenaline flooding every nerve as we continued deeper into the forest, away from the horrors of the cabin. "There's a place," she panted, looking over her shoulder as shadows swirled. "A cave, deeper in the woods. The elders spoke of it." "Elders? You mean it's supposed to keep darkness at bay?" She spoke hurriedly, her eyes bright with desperation. "They say it's a sanctuary for those pursued by evil." My breath caught. Sanctuary? Did we dare trust ancient stories? But then what choice did we have? I nodded, forcing my trepidation aside as we pushed forward. The forest felt alive, each crackle of underbrush turning my senses to high alert. With the memories of the cabin seared into my mind, I needed to put distance between us and the lurking dangers, whatever it might be. But still, the woods held an unease I couldn't shake. Echoes of whispers lingered in the cool night air, a haunting reminder that the line between folklore and harsh reality remained blurred, leaving more questions than answers. "Keep running," she urged. "We can't stop." I glanced at her, the determination carved into her features. Whatever awaited us at the cave, I knew one thing for certain. This journey wasn't over, and the hunt was far from finished. Even now, I wondered if I had crossed into a realm that defied natural explanation, or if we had simply stumbled into a nightmare woven from long-held fears. The darkness around us pulsed, alive with its own secrets. I could only hope we'd discover the truth before it consumed us whole.